Rich Freedom, written and published by Rich Audiobooks. Being rich isn't just about having money. It's about owning your time, your choices, and your peace. The wealthiest people aren't chained to their income. They're free from needing it. In this video, we're breaking down what rich freedom really looks like and why true wealth is measured in how you live, not just what you earn. If you're chasing money, pause. This is what you actually want. Lesson 1. Freedom is waking up without obligation. The alarm clock doesn't ring because there isn't one. Sunlight gradually fills the room as your body naturally stirs from sleep. There's no rush to jump out of bed, no immediate demands pressing upon your consciousness. This is what true freedom feels like, in its most basic form, the simple ability to wake up naturally and face the day on your own terms. Most people live their lives in a perpetual state of morning anxiety. Their first conscious moments are filled with mental calculations of meetings, deadlines, and commitments. Their bodies tense before their eyes even open, anticipating the day's obligations that await them. This is not freedom. It's a sophisticated form of bondage that we've collectively normalized. The morning hours hold special significance in the pursuit of freedom. These precious moments, when our minds are fresh and our energy renewed, often reveal the true extent of our autonomy. Those who must immediately bend their will to external demands, whether it's rushing to beat traffic, preparing others for their day, or logging into virtual meetings, are operating within invisible constraints that shape their entire existence. What makes this morning obligation particularly insidious is how it cascades throughout the day. Each morning commitment creates a domino effect of subsequent obligations, leaving little room for spontaneity or self-directed activity. We become servants to our schedules rather than masters of our time. The truly free individual doesn't just have control over their mornings. They have designed their life to minimize non-essential obligations across all hours. This doesn't mean a life without responsibility. Rather, it means carefully curating which responsibilities we accept and ensuring they align with our chosen path, rather than being imposed upon us by circumstance or others' expectations. The free individual might choose to wake early for a passion project, to spend time with family, or to pursue personal growth, but these are chosen obligations that energize rather than deplete. Breaking free from morning obligations requires both philosophical and practical shifts. It means questioning the necessity of every standing commitment and having the courage to eliminate those that don't serve our highest purpose. It might mean renegotiating work arrangements, setting clearer boundaries with family and friends, or completely restructuring how we generate income. The path to morning freedom often requires substantial life changes, but the reward is reclaiming the most valuable part of each day. The transformation begins with a simple question: what would my life look like if I could wake up without immediate obligations? This visualization exercise often reveals how far we've drifted from our natural rhythms and desired lifestyle. It shows us the gap between where we are and where we could be. The answer to this question becomes a compass, pointing toward the changes needed to achieve true freedom. As you move toward a life of fewer morning obligations, you'll notice subtle but significant changes in your well-being. Your sleep becomes more restful when you're not subconsciously dreading the next day's demands. Your creativity flows more freely when your mind isn't immediately forced into a reactive mode. Your relationships improve as you bring your best self to interactions rather than a stressed, rushed version operating on autopilot. A morning without obligation is more than just a luxury. It's a fundamental expression of personal sovereignty. It's a daily reminder that you've designed your life around freedom rather than constraint. In a world that increasingly demands our immediate attention and constant availability, the ability to wake up and follow our own rhythms becomes not just a privilege, but a revolutionary act of self-determination. Lesson 2. Wealth buys your time back. Time is the great equalizer. We all get exactly 24 hours each day, no more and no less. But wealth creates an almost magical ability to multiply those hours through strategic leverage. When you understand that money's true value lies in its ability to buy back your time, you begin to see financial decisions through an entirely different lens. Consider how the wealthy approach their daily activities. They don't spend hours grocery shopping, cleaning their homes, or handling administrative tasks. Instead, they recognize that their time is better invested in high-impact activities that energize them or generate exponential returns. They use their financial resources to eliminate the tasks that drain their energy and eat away at their precious hours. This isn't about laziness or superiority. It's about mathematical reality. If your time is worth $500, 0 cents per hour in your profession or business, then spending that hour on a task you could outsource for $30, 0 cents, is literally throwing away $470, 0 cents. The wealthy understand this equation intuitively and act accordingly. They see money as a tool to create more time, not as an end in itself. The transformation begins when you start viewing every expense through the lens of time reclamation. That new software subscription isn't just a monthly cost, it's an investment in automating repetitive tasks that would otherwise consume your attention. The virtual assistant isn't an expense, they're a partner in multiplying your impact by handling the necessary but non-essential aspects of your work and life. This mindset shift extends beyond just business activities. Wealth allows you to buy back time with your family by eliminating commutes through living closer to work or working remotely. It enables you to prioritize your health by having healthy meals prepared or accessing premium health care that doesn't require long waiting times. It lets you expand your knowledge efficiently through direct access to experts and mentors rather than years of trial and error. The compounding effect of bought-back time is extraordinary. When you free up 2 hours per day through strategic delegation and automation, that's not just 730 hours per year. It's 730 hours you can invest in relationships, personal growth, or creating new opportunities. This compounds year after year, creating an ever-widening gap between those who understand this principle and those who remain trapped in the time-for-money exchange. Those who master this concept stop seeing wealth in terms of dollars in their bank account and start measuring it in blocks of free time on their calendar. They understand that the highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up and say, "My time is truly my own." This freedom doesn't come from hoarding money, but from strategically deploying it to create more time autonomy. The path to time wealth begins with a simple audit. Track where your hours go and assign a value to each activity. Question everything. Could this be automated, delegated, eliminated entirely? Start small, perhaps with a house cleaner or a virtual assistant for a few hours a week. Notice how it feels to reclaim those hours and redirect them toward what truly matters to you. As your financial resources grow, continue to look for opportunities to buy back more time. The goal isn't to become idle, but to ensure that every hour of your life is spent exactly how you choose to spend it. This is the true meaning of wealth. Not the accumulation of money, but the accumulation of freedom to spend your time as you see fit. Time, unlike money, cannot be earned back once spent. Every moment we exchange for something less valuable than our potential is a moment permanently lost. The truly wealthy understand this and structure their entire financial strategy around the paramount goal of time reclamation. This is the essence of rich freedom, using wealth not as a scorecard but as a tool to buy back the most precious resource we have, our time. Lesson 3. You can't be free if you're in debt. Debt is the silent freedom killer that masquerades as opportunity. Every dollar you owe represents a piece of your future that's already been sold, a portion of your freedom that's been mortgaged away. While we often focus on the mathematical burden of debt, the interest rates, payment schedules, and total amounts, the true cost lies in how it shackles our choices and constrains our possibilities. Think about what debt really means. You're working to pay for decisions you made in the past rather than creating possibilities for your future. That expensive car payment isn't just $500, 0 cents a month. It's $500, 0 cents worth of freedom you've sacrificed, month after month. That credit card balance isn't just a number on a statement. It's the weight that keeps you tethered to a job you might otherwise leave, a situation you might otherwise escape. The psychological toll of debt extends far beyond the financial strain. When you're in debt, you carry an invisible burden that colors every decision. Should you take that dream job with slightly lower pay? Can you afford to take a month off to travel? Is now the right time to start your own business? Debt turns these questions of possibility into exercises in impossibility. Your dreams become deferred, tucked away for some hypothetical future when you're financially stable. Freedom requires a foundation of financial sovereignty, and debt is its antithesis. Every monthly payment represents a regular reminder that you're not fully in control of your destiny. The debtor's path is well-worn. Work harder, earn more, pay off the debts. But this cycle often leads to lifestyle inflation and new debts, creating a perpetual treadmill of obligation. The truly free understand that avoiding debt isn't about deprivation, it's about preservation of choice. Breaking free from debt demands more than just financial strategy. It requires a fundamental shift in how you view money and freedom. The path begins with stopping the bleeding, no new debt, no matter how tempting the purchase or how convincing the justification. Then comes the methodical process of eliminating existing obligations, starting with those that carry the highest psychological burden, rather than just the highest interest rates. As you shed debt, you'll notice something remarkable. Possibilities begin to expand. That emergency fund isn't just a number in your bank account, it's permission to say no to things that don't serve you. Those freed-up monthly payments aren't just extra money, they're tickets to opportunities you couldn't previously consider. Your mind starts to explore options that were once off-limits, and your decisions come from a place of choice rather than necessity. The debt-free life isn't about living with less, it's about living with more intention. When you're not beholden to creditors, your relationship with money transforms. You begin to see it as a tool for creating freedom rather than a means of acquiring things. Your purchases become conscious choices rather than compulsions, and your assets truly belong to you rather than being shared with a bank. True wealth begins at zero, not $0, but zero debt. This is the foundation upon which real freedom is built. Without the burden of monthly payments, your income becomes a tool for creation rather than obligation. Your time becomes truly yours, and your choices become genuinely free. The path to this freedom isn't always easy or quick, but it's essential, because as long as you're in debt, you're working for someone else's freedom rather than your own. Lesson 4. True luxury is doing what you want, when you want. The most profound shift in understanding true wealth comes when you realize that authentic luxury has nothing to do with designer labels, expensive cars, or premium real estate. Real luxury manifests in the ability to follow your natural rhythms and genuine desires without external constraints. Consider the difference between someone who owns an expensive watch but must check it constantly to ensure they're not late for meetings, versus someone who moves through their day guided by their energy and inspiration. The first person, despite their material wealth, remains bound by time. The second experiences true luxury, the freedom to honor their internal clock and pursue what calls to them in each moment. This form of luxury reveals itself in countless small ways. It's the ability to take a walk when the weather is perfect rather than staring at it through an office window. It's the freedom to extend lunch with a fascinating friend rather than rushing back to obligations. It's the power to say yes to an unexpected adventure or no to an unwanted commitment without calculating the professional or financial consequences. The wealthy but constrained often attempt to compress freedom into scheduled blocks, the annual 2-week vacation or the weekend getaway. But true luxury cannot be contained in predetermined time slots. It flows naturally, like water finding its path. This spontaneity becomes possible only when you've structured your life around flexibility rather than rigid commitments. Money plays a crucial role in this equation, but not in the way most people think. Instead of using wealth to acquire more expensive versions of things you already have, true luxury means using resources to eliminate the barriers between you and your authentic desires. This might mean hiring help to handle routine tasks, creating passive income streams that don't require your constant attention, or building a financial buffer that allows you to make decisions based on interest rather than necessity. The transformation begins when you start viewing time as your most precious asset and restructuring your life to protect it. This often requires a complete reimagining of success. Instead of measuring achievement through traditional metrics like salary increases or job titles, you begin to evaluate your progress by the degree of freedom you have to follow your intuition and energy. This shift dramatically affects how you approach both work and leisure. When you're truly free, the distinction between the two often blurs. You might find yourself deeply engaged in work activities during traditional leisure hours, not because you have to, but because you're genuinely inspired. Conversely, you might take a Tuesday afternoon off to pursue a sudden creative impulse or simply rest, without any guilt or need to justify your choice. The ultimate expression of this luxury is the ability to be fully present in whatever you choose to do. When you're no longer constantly checking the time or thinking about next obligations, you can immerse yourself completely in the current moment. This presence itself becomes a form of wealth that no amount of money alone can buy. Living this way requires more than just financial resources. It demands courage to break free from societal expectations and the discipline to resist falling back into old patterns of time bondage. It means learning to trust your intuition and becoming comfortable with a less structured, more organic approach to life. This might feel uncomfortable at first, especially if you've spent years living by external schedules and expectations. The key lies in gradually building both the financial and psychological infrastructure to support this kind of freedom. It means creating systems that give you more control over your time, cultivating relationships that respect your autonomy, and developing the inner security to live on your own terms. When you achieve this state, you'll understand that true luxury isn't about having more, it's about having the freedom to be more fully yourself. Lesson 5. Silence is a sign of real control. True power rarely announces itself. In a world of constant noise, social media declarations, and desperate attempts to be heard, those who have achieved genuine freedom often express it through their silence. This isn't about being reserved or withdrawn. It's about possessing the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you have nothing to prove to anyone. The wealthy and truly free understand that excessive explanation is often a form of seeking permission or validation. When you feel compelled to justify your choices, your schedule, or your lifestyle, you're unconsciously acknowledging others' authority over your decisions. Real freedom manifests in the ability to act without the need for external approval or understanding. Consider how often you explain yourself throughout the day, why you're taking a vacation, why you're not attending an event, why you're making a career change. Each explanation is a small surrender of your autonomy, a subtle admission that others have the right to question your choices. The truly free make decisions and move forward without the compulsion to defend their action. This silence extends beyond verbal communication into digital spaces. Those who have achieved genuine freedom rarely feel the need to broadcast their achievements, lifestyle, or decisions on social media. They understand that constant updates and sharing often mask a deeper insecurity about one's choices or status. The need to prove one's freedom paradoxically reveals its absence. Creating space for silence in your life also opens the door to deeper clarity and self-awareness. When you're no longer caught in the cycle of explaining, justifying, and seeking approval, you can hear your own thoughts more clearly. This mental quiet becomes a fountain of creativity, insight, and authentic decision-making. The practice of selective engagement is another manifestation of this principle. The truly free understand that not every question deserves an answer, not every criticism warrants a defense, and not every invitation requires a response. They choose their moments of engagement carefully, understanding that their time and energy are precious resources not to be depleted by others' demands for explanation or attention. This form of control extends to professional situations as well. In meetings, negotiations, or business dealings, the power often lies with the person who can maintain comfortable silence. While others rush to fill quiet moments with nervous chatter or unnecessary elaboration, those who are truly free understand the strength in letting silence do the heavy lifting. Cultivating this quiet confidence begins with small acts of liberation. Start by reducing your explanations for personal choices. Practice making decisions without seeking consensus. Allow yourself to sit in silence when others might expect you to speak. Notice how often you feel the urge to justify yourself and question whether that justification is truly necessary. The relationship between silence and freedom becomes most apparent in moments of pressure or criticism. When faced with questioning or judgment, the truly free respond not with defensive explanations, but with calm assurance in their choices. This isn't about being aloof or dismissive. It's about maintaining your center of gravity regardless of external forces. As you progress on your journey to true freedom, you'll find that silence becomes not just a practice but a natural state. The need to explain, justify, and prove yourself gradually falls away, replaced by a quiet certainty in your own path. This is perhaps one of the most profound indicators of genuine freedom, the ability to move through life guided by your own inner compass, unswayed by the noise of others' expectations or demands. Lesson 6. Owning your hours is owning your life. Your calendar reveals more about your freedom than your bank account ever could. Each block of time represents a choice, or more tellingly, a surrender of choice. When you examine most people's schedules, you'll find them densely packed with obligations they've accumulated like barnacles on a ship, slowly but steadily restricting their movement through life. The truly wealthy person isn't the one with the most meetings, but the one with the most white space in their calendar. This space represents possibility, opportunity, and the rarest commodity in modern life, choice. When you own your hours, you gain the power to say yes to the unexpected invitation, pursue the sudden inspiration, or simply sit in contemplation without the anxiety of wasting time. Consider how most people's calendars come to be filled. They accept meeting invites out of obligation, schedule commitments out of guilt, and fill their days with activities they believe they should do. Each yes to another's priority is a no to your own. The wealthy mindset begins with the recognition that your time is not a democratic resource to be divided equally among all who request it. The practice of time ownership starts with an audit. Look at your previous week and highlight every hour that truly served your highest purposes and deepest desires. The remaining blocks represent the opportunity cost of your current freedom level. These are the hours you've surrendered, often unconsciously, to others' agendas. This isn't about becoming selfish with your time, but rather becoming intentional with this finite resource. Time blocking emerges as a crucial tool for the freedom seeker. Instead of letting others fragment your days into unusable chunks, you create substantial blocks dedicated to your most important work, relationships, and personal growth. The key is to schedule these blocks first, not in the leftover spaces after accommodating everyone else's requests. The wealthy understand that energy management is as important as time management. They recognize their peak performance hours and guard them zealously. A single hour of focused work during your best time can accomplish more than 3 hours of scattered effort when your energy is depleted. This understanding transforms how you structure your days and what commitments you accept. Your relationship with time directly impacts your sense of sovereignty. When you feel rushed, overwhelmed, or constantly behind, you experience life as something happening to you rather than through you. The shift begins when you start treating your hours with the same respect you'd give to your money, investing them carefully, protecting them from theft, and ensuring they generate the highest possible return in terms of life satisfaction. The ultimate expression of time ownership isn't having an empty calendar. It's having a calendar that reflects your values and aspirations. It means having the confidence to block out time for deep work, guilt-free leisure, and meaningful relationships. It means having the courage to leave space for serendipity and the wisdom to know that not every hour needs to be productive to be valuable. As you progress on your journey to rich freedom, you'll find that owning your hours creates a positive feedback loop. The more intentionally you guard and invest your time, the more value you create, and the more freedom you gain to further curate your hours. This virtuous cycle forms the foundation of true wealth, the ability to spend your limited time on this earth in alignment with your highest calling. Lesson 7. Work becomes play when you're free. The transformation of work from burden to bliss marks one of the most profound shifts in achieving true freedom. When financial pressures no longer dictate your choices, the artificial boundary between work and play dissolves, revealing an integrated state where productive activity becomes a source of joy rather than obligation. This metamorphosis begins with the recognition that humans are naturally creative, productive beings. Our ancestors didn't distinguish between work and play. They hunted, created, built, and solved problems as part of their natural expression of living. The modern separation of work and leisure is a relatively recent construct, born from the Industrial Revolution and its need to compartmentalize human activity into profitable units of time. When you achieve financial freedom, you rediscover this natural state of integrated activity. Projects that once felt like obligations suddenly feel like adventures. The pressure to perform for others' expectations lifts, allowing your authentic interests and talents to guide your endeavors. A writer who previously churned out corporate copy under deadline now crafts stories that spark their imagination. A programmer who built mundane databases now creates applications that solve problems they personally care about. The key to this transformation lies in the removal of external coercion. When you no longer need to work to survive, you can choose to work to thrive. This shift in motivation fundamentally alters the experience of productive activity. Tasks that might appear identical to an outside observer feel entirely different when driven by internal desire rather than external demand. Consider the difference between having to cook dinner after a long day at work versus choosing to experiment with a new recipe on a free afternoon. The physical actions might be the same, but the emotional experience is worlds apart. This is the essence of work becoming play. It's not about what you do, but why and how you do it. Financial freedom also allows you to operate at your natural rhythm. Some people are most creative at dawn, others come alive at midnight. When work becomes play, you can honor these natural cycles instead of forcing yourself into an arbitrary schedule. This alignment with your biological and psychological patterns creates a state of flow where work feels effortless and time seems to disappear. The transformation extends beyond individual tasks to entire career paths. Many financially free people find themselves drawn to multiple ventures, creating a portfolio of activities that might look like work to others but feel like play to them. A retired executive might split time between mentoring startups, writing a book, and learning traditional woodworking. This state of playful work often leads to superior outcomes. When you're engaged in activities because you want to be rather than have to be, you naturally bring more creativity, attention, and enthusiasm to the task. Innovation flows more freely because you're not constrained by fear or failure or loss of income. You can take risks, experiment, and follow your curiosity wherever it leads. The ultimate expression of work as play comes when you lose track of which is which. Days flow seamlessly between productive activities and leisure pursuits, each feeding into and enriching the other. A conversation over coffee sparks a business idea, which leads to an exciting project, which creates new relationships and opportunities for adventure. This is the natural state of human creativity and productivity, not bound by artificial distinctions between work and play, but flowing freely between different forms of engaging with the world. Those who achieve this integration often find themselves more productive than ever, yet paradoxically feeling as though they never work at all. They've reclaimed the natural state of human activity, where effort and enjoyment are not opponents, but partners in the dance of life. Lesson 8. You no longer trade time for money. The greatest shift in wealth creation happens when you break free from the time for money trap. This fundamental transformation represents the dividing line between the traditionally successful and the truly free. While most people remain caught in the cycle of trading their hours for dollars, those who achieve rich freedom have discovered how to divorce their income from their direct time investment. This liberation begins with a profound mental shift. Instead of asking, "How much can I earn per hour?" the essential question becomes, "How can I create value that generates returns while I sleep?" This isn't about working harder or longer, it's about working differently. The wealthy have long understood that building or acquiring assets that produce consistent cash flow is the key to sustainable freedom. These assets come in many forms. Traditional investments like stocks, bonds, and real estate can generate passive income through dividends, interest, and rental payments. But in today's digital age, the opportunities for creating income-generating assets have expanded dramatically. Digital products, online courses, software applications, and intellectual property can all produce revenue without requiring your constant presence. The beauty of these modern assets lies in their scalability. They can serve one customer or 1 million with minimal additional effort. Beyond digital assets, systems and processes represent another form of wealth creation that breaks the time-money connection. By developing efficient business systems, hiring capable teams, and implementing automation, you can build enterprises that function smoothly whether you're present or not. This approach transforms your role from operator to orchestrator, from doer to designer. The transition away from trading time for money requires an initial investment of both time and resources. It's about planting seeds today that will bear fruit tomorrow and for years to come. This might mean spending months developing a product, building a rental property portfolio, or creating automated business processes. The key is understanding that this upfront investment is fundamentally different from trading time for immediate payment. One often overlooked aspect of breaking free from the time-money exchange is the compound effect of leverage. When you create something once that can be sold repeatedly, you're leveraging your initial effort across multiple transactions. This multiplication of value is how wealth accelerates without demanding more of your time. A book written once can sell for decades. A software solution can serve customers around the clock. A well-designed business system can operate consistently while you focus on strategic growth or personal interests. The ultimate expression of this principle comes when multiple income streams flow from various assets and systems you've put in place. This diversification not only provides financial security, but also true freedom of choice. You're no longer dependent on any single source of income, and your wealth grows through the combined effect of multiple assets working simultaneously on your behalf. This shift requires developing new skills and mindsets. You must learn to think like an investor and system builder rather than an employee or traditional business owner. It means becoming comfortable with delayed gratification, as the rewards of asset building often take time to materialize. It also means cultivating the ability to spot opportunities for automation, delegation, and scaling that can free your time while growing your wealth. The remarkable outcome of breaking free from trading time for money is not just financial, it's existential. When your income is no longer directly tied to your daily efforts, you gain the freedom to choose how to spend your time based on value and meaning rather than monetary compensation. This transforms not only how you generate wealth, but how you experience life itself. Lesson 9. Saying no is your new power. The most profound transformation that comes with true wealth isn't what you gain access to, it's what you can decline without consequence. This power to say no becomes your greatest asset, though most people never realize its immense value until they've attained it. The wealthy and truly free understand that each yes is a commitment of their most precious resource, time. When you achieve financial independence, you suddenly discover that your no carries weight it never had before. You're no longer bound by the fear of missing out on opportunities or the anxiety of potentially offending others. This isn't about becoming dismissive or arrogant. Rather, it's about understanding your worth and protecting your energy with the same diligence you'd protect your financial investments. The ability to decline extends far beyond simply turning down invitations or requests. It manifests in every aspect of life, saying no to toxic relationships, refusing to engage in draining projects, declining business partnerships that don't align with your values, and walking away from situations that compromise your peace of mind. This selective engagement becomes a form of wealth preservation, ensuring that your time and energy are invested only in ventures and relationships that truly matter. Many people struggle with saying no because they've been conditioned to equate accessibility with success. They believe that being available at all times and to all people somehow makes them more valuable. The truth is quite the opposite. Scarcity creates value, and this applies to your presence as much as it does to any other resource. When you become selective about your commitments, you enhance your value in the eyes of others while preserving your own sense of freedom. The power of no also creates space for deeper yes responses. When you're not spread thin across numerous obligations, you can fully commit to the few things that truly deserve your attention. This focused engagement leads to richer experiences, stronger relationships, and more meaningful achievements. It's the difference between being a shallow participant in many things and having the depth to make a real impact in the few areas you choose to pursue. Financial freedom gives you the security to exercise this power without fear of repercussion. You no longer need to accept every client, attend every meeting, or pursue every opportunity that presents itself. This selectivity becomes a form of wealth in itself, the wealth of choice, of discernment, and of intentional living. Your calendar becomes a reflection of your values rather than a collection of obligations. The most sophisticated practitioners of this art understand that saying no isn't just about rejection, it's about curation. They view their life as a carefully curated exhibition where each element has been thoughtfully selected. This curatorial approach extends to relationships, projects, possessions, and commitments. The result is a life that feels spacious, intentional, and aligned with personal value. Learning to say no with grace is its own skill set. It requires confidence, clarity of purpose, and the ability to communicate boundaries effectively. The truly wealthy have mastered the art of declining without explanation, understanding that their time and attention are valuable enough to stand on their own without justification. This mastery comes from recognizing that every no is actually saying yes to something else, to peace, to focus, to what matters most. The power of no becomes a cornerstone of sustained freedom. It protects your time, energy, and resources from the constant demands of a world that always wants more. In exercising this power, you maintain the very freedom that wealth has helped you achieve, ensuring that your life remains a conscious creation rather than a series of reactive commitments. Lesson 10. You invest for impact, not survival. When you achieve true financial freedom, investing transforms from a necessity into a powerful tool for creating positive change. The mindset shifts dramatically. You're no longer focused on building a nest egg to survive, but rather deploying capital strategically to shape the world according to your values and vision. This evolution in investing perspective is one of the clearest indicators that you've transcended basic financial security. Where others frantically check their portfolio values daily, you maintain a calm, long-term view focused on the tangible impact your investments can create. Your decisions become driven by questions like, what problems can I help solve? And how can my capital create lasting positive change? Or then, will this give me enough to retire? The truly free investor thinks in terms of generations and legacies, not quarterly returns. They understand that money is merely stored energy waiting to be converted into real-world impact. This could mean funding innovative startups, tackling climate change, investing in affordable housing developments that strengthen communities, or supporting art and cultural institutions that enrich society. The specific avenue matters less than the intentionality behind it. This impact-focused approach often leads to more meaningful relationships and opportunities. When you invest to make a difference rather than just make money, you naturally connect with other purpose-driven people. Your network expands beyond financial professionals to include innovators, creators, and change-makers. These relationships frequently yield opportunities that transcend traditional investment returns. The freedom to invest for impact also allows you to take longer time horizons and accept different types of returns. While the survival investor needs liquid assets and regular cash flows, the impact investor can lock up capital for decades if the potential for positive change justifies it. They can blend financial returns with social and environmental outcomes, creating a more holistic measure of investment success. This shift in perspective influences not just where you invest, but how you engage with your investments. Rather than being a passive shareholder, you become an active steward of capital. You might take board seats, mentor founders, or leverage your network to help portfolio companies succeed. Your expertise and connections become as valuable as your capital. Impact investing from a position of freedom also means you can afford to be wrong sometimes. You can take calculated risks on unproven solutions to important problems because you're not betting your financial security. This ability to absorb failure while pursuing meaningful change is a powerful form of freedom that few ever achieve. The ecosystem effects of freedom-based impact investing ripple far beyond your own portfolio. When successful people shift from survival to impact investing, it creates permission for others to do the same. It demonstrates that profit and purpose aren't mutually exclusive, and that financial success can be a platform for meaningful contribution rather than an end in itself. This evolution in investing consciousness represents one of the highest expressions of financial freedom. It transforms money from a tool of personal security into an instrument for positive change. The truly free investor understands that their greatest return isn't measured in dollars, but in the impact they create and the legacy they leave for future generations. Lesson 11. The rich don't retire, they choose their missions. The concept of retirement is deeply flawed. It suggests an endpoint, a finish line where we stop contributing and begin a perpetual vacation. But true wealth brings a different perspective, one where the very notion of retirement becomes obsolete because you're already living exactly as you choose. Wealthy people who have achieved genuine freedom don't dream about the day they can stop working. Instead, they naturally evolve into roles and pursuits that deeply resonate with their values and passions. They understand that a life of purpose isn't something to postpone until after accumulating a certain amount of money. It's an ongoing journey of impact and personal growth. Consider the entrepreneur who sells their company for millions. Rather than retreating to a beach, they often find themselves drawn to mentoring other business owners, investing in promising ventures, or starting new projects that excite them. They do this not because they need more money, but because they're driven by the desire to create value and meaning. Their wealth has simply removed the pressure of necessity, allowing them to pursue impact purely for its own sake. This shift from working for survival to working for impact represents a fundamental transformation in how we approach productivity and purpose. Financial freedom is achieved, work becomes a chosen vehicle for self-expression rather than a mandatory means of sustenance. The wealthy individual doesn't ask, "How can I stop working?" but rather, "What work truly matters to me?" The mission-driven life of the wealthy often looks quite different from traditional employment. Some dedicate themselves to philanthropic causes, using their resources and expertise to address social challenges. Others become thought leaders, sharing their knowledge and experiences to help others achieve similar freedom. Many create foundations or organizations that extend their impact far beyond what they could achieve individually. This approach to life after financial freedom also tends to be more fluid and multifaceted than conventional career paths. The truly wealthy might simultaneously serve on boards, write books, mentor young entrepreneurs, and manage personal investments, all while maintaining the flexibility to pivot or adjust their involvement based on interest and impact rather than obligation. The key distinction lies in the power to choose. When wealth buys your freedom, you gain the ability to align your daily activities with your deepest values and highest aspirations. This alignment creates a natural state of engagement that makes the concept of retirement seem not just unnecessary but undesirable. Why would you want to retire from activities that bring you joy, fulfillment, and a sense of purpose? Moreover, this mission-driven approach to life tends to create a positive feedback loop. As wealthy people pursue meaningful projects and initiatives, they often generate additional wealth, expand their influence, and open up new opportunities for impact. Their work becomes a form of compound interest for their legacy, growing their ability to effect change while maintaining their personal freedom. The wealthy understand that true freedom isn't about escaping from all productive activity. It's about having the autonomy to choose which activities deserve their time and energy. They recognize that their accumulated wisdom, resources, and connections position them uniquely to make significant contributions to areas they care about. This realization transforms the traditional retirement goal into something far more dynamic and fulfilling, a life of chosen missions and meaningful engagement. In this context, wealth becomes not an end goal, but a platform for greater impact. The freedom it provides isn't used to withdraw from the world, but to engage with it more purposefully. This is perhaps the ultimate expression of rich freedom, the ability to dedicate oneself to missions that matter, uninhibited by financial constraints and driven purely by the desire to create positive change. Lesson 12. Real freedom is internal. The greatest prison ever constructed wasn't built with concrete and steel, but with thoughts and beliefs. While external circumstances certainly influence our freedom, the most restrictive bonds are those we place upon ourselves, through fear, limiting beliefs, and societal programming. True liberation begins when we recognize that freedom is primarily a state of mind. Many people who appear to have everything, wealth, status, material abundance, remain trapped in mental cages of their own making. They're enslaved by the opinions of others, chained to societal expectations, and confined by their own rigid definitions of success. Meanwhile, there are those who possess relatively little in material terms, yet experience profound freedom through their internal sovereignty. This internal freedom manifests as an unshakable sense of self that isn't dependent on external validation or circumstances. It's the ability to stand firmly in your truth even when others disagree. It's maintaining peace of mind during chaos and uncertainty. It's choosing your response to situations rather than reacting automatically. These capabilities aren't purchased with money. They're cultivated through conscious awareness and consistent practice. The journey to internal freedom requires us to examine and challenge our conditioned responses and inherited beliefs. Many of our limitations are simply accepted truths we've never questioned. Who told you that success looks a certain way? Who convinced you that security comes only through traditional paths? These inherited beliefs act as invisible barriers to our freedom, and examining them is the first step toward liberation. Financial wealth can provide external freedom, but without internal freedom, it often becomes another golden cage. The truly free individual isn't just someone who can afford anything, it's someone who knows what they genuinely want, separate from societal programming and external pressures. They understand that authentic choices come from within, not from social media trends or peer pressure. Internal freedom also means liberation from the constant need for more. It's the ability to say, "This is enough," and truly mean it. When we're internally free, we're no longer driven by insecurity or the compulsion to prove our worth through acquisition or achievement. We can choose to pursue more, but we do so from a place of wholeness rather than lack. The practice of internal freedom extends to our relationships as well. When we're internally free, we don't need others to behave in certain ways for us to feel secure. We can allow people to be who they are without trying to control or change them. This creates space for authentic connections rather than relationships built on dependency or manipulation. Perhaps most importantly, internal freedom gives us the ability to face uncertainty with equanimity. The externally wealthy but internally imprisoned person lives in constant fear of losing their possessions or status. The internally free individual knows that while external circumstances may change, their core sense of self remains intact. They understand that freedom isn't about controlling the external world, it's about maintaining their center regardless of what happens around them. This doesn't mean that internal freedom makes us impervious to pain or immune to desire. Instead, it gives us the space to experience all of life's emotions without being controlled by them. We can feel fear without being paralyzed by it, experience desire without being enslaved by it, and face challenges without being defined by them. The path to internal freedom is perhaps the most worthwhile journey we can undertake. While financial wealth can remove external obstacles, true liberation comes from dismantling the internal barriers that keep us confined. When we achieve this inner sovereignty, every other form of freedom becomes more meaningful and sustainable. After all, what good is a limitless bank account if we remain prisoners of our own minds?